I saw those videos and it breaks my heart. I always wondered why there's so much suffering in the world. Just seeing this reflected to me a decade of witnessing suffering in my home region, Syria, and how much people have been experiencing devastation, and why in that specific area particularly people suffer or tend to suffer more. For me, it's really painful to witness what's going on and to know above the devastation of war and economic collapse, currency collapse, government collapse, really cold winter where people had to cut fruit trees at some areas to heat their houses so they don't freeze from cold. Now coming the earthquake, and this feels something bigger than our capacity of understand why these things happen to innocent children. And yeah, I mean, we all believe in karma, but when you're really witnessing this, you can't really look at the child eye and tell them, oh, it's your karma to suffer your house falling on your head.
We're in a position where we don't feel that we can do much actually, and I think that most of us here in the West find ourselves in such position when we look at the disasters that happen in other places. It's like this disconnection and dissociation from it, because it's just we are actually quite powerless as individuals to make a significant change.
Yeah, and of course some people might think, yeah, if I donate, that won't help. After filming, I had some calls with my friends, and indeed, the donation will have a great help and impact on many people's lives. So if you like to support people personally through me, I'm more happy than to collect the donation and send it to people who need it the most. So if you want to donate, please check the link below, and I will share all the information there. Thank you again. Well, it does actually help, but it doesn't feel it's ending the suffering. It feels like there's something bigger than us, and I'm in this time really reflecting on why the earth is creating this earthquake. What's happening? I don't believe it's a just random thing that happens every 1,000 years or so. And we have also a spiritual explanation that might be giving us like some clue, because as you know, humans like to make sense and fill the gap of uncertainty and the unknown. So we'll share this with you, but just like the state of powerlessness is there, and I feel like it's also important to acknowledge that we feel this way, so we are like transparent about our life.
It's just amazing how so much misfortune and suffering it can fall on one nation, and you just ask like why? Like haven't they suffered enough? It feels almost like injustice in a way, like on top of everything else, now a natural disaster.
Yeah.
It's like there has to be a reason for that.
Yeah, and the reason that I could think of it immediately is that in all the previous year there was a lot of division in the region. If you think about 60 or 70 years ago, there was like the conflict between the Israeli and the Palestinian, which was pure politics and some religion on the top to give it some spices. And there was like always this division between the Arab and the Israelis, the Jewish, and now recently in the last 10 years there was this conflict between the supportive of the regime and the opposition, which took like also a religious flavor to it. And the way I see now the earthquake is something that happening to everybody, despite their religion or their ethnic background or their political view. And I hope at this point that we really stand together and face the suffering and support each other in this time, and forget about our religion and our race or ethnicity. So
unfortunately, sometimes a disaster is the only thing that can unite us when there has been conflict that seems impossible to resolve for thousands of years, possibly. That the hatred that is there between the different groups is like ancient. So it feels to me like Gaia, like Mother Earth, she's raising in vibration, she's ready to transform, she's shifting, and it's like certain energies need to go, and it feels to me as though it is the only way to shake up the foundations sometimes, to really shake up the foundations, because as humans we've had so much time to resolve our differences, and it's like we're so stubborn, it's been so stuck there for a really long time.
the identification with the religion and the race and the political view is so high at that region. And I think this has to do with like being shaked. It's kind of like shake you out of all this identity, so to remember who you actually are before you took on those belief systems.
Which is an earthling, guys.
Yeah.
It's like Mother Earth shaking up all the foundations and being like, hey, I'm here. Look at where you are. You are all children of this beautiful place.
Yeah.
Why do you keep fighting and hating each other? And of course, not everybody is doing that. We can't talk about each individual, but it is there is a certain energy in that region.
Yeah.
And I really, really believe that Earth is not doing that as a punishment. It is her way of, helping us in a way, because nothing else has worked.
It's very interesting for me to hear Mia's perspective, because she's less emotionally attached to what's going on, and she can see it maybe, let's say, from universal perspective. And for me, it's like, wow, but people are suffering. Children don't deserve this.
Yeah.
And I can feel how there is truth to what she's saying, and in the same time there is so much pain to acknowledge of how much people are suffering because the impact that has on them. So both reality and both perspective are true also.
Yeah. And maybe it's also something for us as a collective to think about. Maybe it's not only those people over there, they, have this conflict and therefore Earth is shaking it up. Maybe it is something that humanity has to look at as a collective, because that's not the only disaster. There are other kinds of things happening, like drought and flooding and extinction of species. So this is, what we need to ask ourselves, because nothing is isolated. I don't believe also that Earth is a living being.
Yeah. The way I see it, the Middle East used to act universally as a vortex or a portal for all the shit that's happening in the earth, and it's multiply at that region. And we could see in the last years the proxy war in Syria between the West and the East, between Russia and the United States, how it manifested there. And I can see it also in the energetic level, that the division that we have in the world is more manifested in that specific region. And I feel like it's a cleansing portal, that all the division that we feel in humanity are being cleansed in that region. So it's kind of like, it feels to me it's baying the depth of humanity, of how much we've been divided and how much we hurt each other. So it's manifesting in a physical form there.
Yes, and in a lot of places, for example, the energy of anger and conflict is completely suppressed. But it's not possible in this enclosed system called Earth to completely get rid of that energy. Therefore, it has to bubble up somewhere. And this happens in family systems as well. When the family suppresses something, it tends to come up in the person who is the most suitable channel for that energy. So this could actually be what is happening, that that region of Syria and Middle East, they are more willing to feel that conflict energy and channel that into manifest that, because so many other places are completely disconnected from it. And in that way we can say we are all responsible. We all need to own that energy, that fire inside of ourselves, and create a balance. It's not like here in the West or in Europe or North Europe we have mastered conflict resolution and live in perfect harmony. It's more like we are avoiding conflict altogether in many places, and this is very different from
mastering conflict.
And healthy expression of anger in a way that is actually a carrier of personal truth.
And not owning it from a guilt way of like, oh, I'm guilty that this is happening, I must do something about it, but from caring space, like, oh, I'm taking care of myself first of all for myself, because it doesn't feel good to deny part of me.
Yeah, because to be honest, like me as a Finn, coming from the land of ice and meeting a man from the land of fire, it's like there is so much power in that energy of anger that can lead to conflict, but actually that's not the constructive way of channeling anger or that heat, let's say. I think we in the North can benefit immensely from that. It can bring a sense of choice, personal power, when it's channeled correctly, of aliveness. of interaction, not being afraid to meet another person face to face and speak the truth. So this is, I think, the jewel, the gift that is hidden maybe underneath all the conflict and the chaos.
We don't have a solution, guys, but we have a conversation with you maybe. So if you want to share your thoughts about it, leave it in the comments below.
Yeah, like I would love us to ask ourselves, how can we all be responsible for the human family on this planet, instead of thinking it's like those people over there are suffering, poor them. I'm happy I'm safe in my apartment, but more like, okay, at an energetic level, and those of you who understand this, that at a deeper level we're all connected. How can I address that within myself, within my own family system? That energy of conflict, hatred, division, and bring about understanding and humanity. And I would actually invite us to pray, because that's in a way an antidote to the powerlessness of I can't do anything practically, maybe beyond maybe donating something or going there actually in person, which very few of us are willing to do. But we can pray, and I think that is actually powerful too, when it comes from a real place of true intention and love and care.
Yeah, prayer has really immense power beyond our capacity to measure and comprehend. So I invite us all to pray, not only for Syria but and Turkey, but all the places that need our love and need our blessing. And those who watch us have especially you, have immense power in you, because you are more connected to your heart, more connected to the universal truth of love and oneness. So I invite us all to take a breath and really invite peace and calmness and peace and love and calmness for all those souls who need it, and for those souls who left our planet to rest in peace and to come back to unity with Source. And if you are an activist like me and myself, I lost belief in all government, but if you still believe in them, you can push towards removing sanction that was put on Syria, that will help the local economy, will help the average people like you and me to create a better life and to cope with the economical collapse there.
So that's the activist side. And I'm not an activist, but I really I know that what we do inside impacts the whole, and it makes pathways and resolutions more accessible to everybody in the field. Therefore, what you can do is really finding your inner fire, your inner energy that you are that might create conflict, that you're afraid of. Own that and learn to channel your inner fire constructively. Learn to how to bring your truth that you're afraid might create conflict, and learn to come up with solutions with people. Learn to not compromise on your truth, but instead collaborate. Find ways to collaborate instead of avoid or isolate yourself.
Yeah, that's in general important advice. Even if there is no earthquakes, always look for a real solution for conflict instead of avoiding. Just keep our heart anchored in love and compassion for ourselves and others.
Yes, and acting from unity, viewing them as our brothers and sisters, no matter how different they are, and sending them a supportive prayer as our brothers on this earth.
And if you are new to our channel, my name is Rami.
And I am Mia.
And we love to have you in our journey. So check our channel. We have many videos about community, healthy relationship, and much more.
And subscribe if you haven't done so yet.
And we'll see you in the next video.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.